got some seed funding for the project, which was looking at the effect of apple harvest maturity on storage. So this project was looking at trying to get the optimal harvest maturity of these particular apples, and then using another chemical that the growers commonly use to inhibit ethylene production, and that means that the apples will last longer. So the key activities that we were doing in this project were to work with the grower in the Yarra Valley, and we were going out there every week pre-harvest. So from probably mid to late February, we were going out there and we were surveying the apples with something that's called a DA meter. It's kind of a bit of a conundrum because these two disorders, the superficial scald and the internal browning, are actually both opposite ends of the time of harvest. So, for example, with superficial scald, that's something that if you harvest too early, you're going to see that happening. And internal browning occurs if you harvest too late. And really, we're looking at a window of about 2 weeks max when harvest will occur. So it's a tight window, but it still makes a difference. It's a great meter because you can actually determine and track the maturity of an apple without having to do any destructive measurements. And we had 3 levels of harvest maturity that was based on this DA meter. And then we had thousands of apples, and they all went into different crates and storage, because that's actually, they were going to be taken out of storage post-harvest every 2 months for an 8-month period. And so we had these 3 harvest maturity levels, and half were treated with erythritol, half weren't treated with erythritol. And in addition to that, we had another, layer to this experiment where they were treated with something called Smart Fresh, or 1-MCP, and that's what growers use to actually inhibit ethylene production. So it sounds a bit weird, but we're switching it on early on, and then we switch it off. And these are quite kind of normal things that happen. So we then were taking apples out of storage after they'd been treated commercially with this Smart Fresh by the grower, and following their maturity with various maturity indicators, both destructive and non-destructive. And we'd follow them for 14 days every 2 months. So we had day 0, day 7 and day 14. And we looked at ethylene production, we looked at the amount of respiration that occurred. We also, the destructive ones, so we looked at that starch conversion. The DA meter was a way of tracking the maturity during that 14-day period as well. And we also were checking the colour with a machine that actually measures the colour and also the firmness of the apples. So what we found, which was kind of interesting and we didn't really expect it, was those 3 levels of harvest maturity, or whether they've been sprayed with the erythritol or not to bring on that ethylene production, actually really had no significant difference in all these maturity indicators, in the firmness, etc. What was more important was treating with the Smart Fresh, with 1-MCP. So that was able to prevent both superficial scald and internal browning, and that was even up to 8 months. By 6 months we started to see a couple of apples that started to show some superficial scald, but particularly by 8 months in the treatment that didn't receive the Smart Fresh, we were starting to see much more prevalence of superficial scald. That's actually really important for growers to know, and to realise that that Smart Fresh treatment needs to be applied within a maximum 4 days of those apples being harvested. So it's really important that growers realise they can't fill their room until capacity, and then they use the Smart Fresh, and if it's over 4 days, because it just won't work as well. That's actually the recommendation for Smart Fresh, but it's just I think really important that they realise they have to use it within 4 days of the apples being harvested, so that they get those maximum effects of maintaining the quality during storage, and then when those apples come out of storage. Because sometimes these disorders, like superficial scald and internal browning, aren't evident when the growers take them out of storage, but then they become evident when they see it in the supermarket or when the consumer has it in their fruit bowl. So not so much the maturity level at harvest, but treating with Smart Fresh. My PhD is in plant physiology and post-harvest physiology, so this project that I did was kind of a natural fit and progression.